Hey everyone, I'm Rivenblade, and welcome to the WrestleVibes review of All Elite Wrestling Season 2, the premiere. After a shocking season finale, which saw new faces jump onto the scene, we were left with many questions. Will Adam Cole's words become prophecy after he called the Elite the most dominant faction in history? What is Bryan Danielson doing here? Who is Ruby Soho? Did this show give us the answers we were looking for? Let's find out. When coming off such a satisfying finale, it's always a good idea to do a recap video package, and this one was sleek, reminding us all of how we got here and of the feelings we shared. The episode then truly opens with a clash between Malachi Black and Dustin Rhodes. Smartly, the producers show us a quick video package of Malachi's destruction of the Nightmare family. This is key to bringing all of the new eyeballs that were no doubt watching this show up to speed. The fight sees Dustin get put through a table and limp around on a bad knee for the rest of the match. After a competitive bout and valiant effort from Dustin, Black disposes of Dustin's older brother with a kick to the shoulder instead of the head. A reminder that we're live, pal, and there are no retakes. Or that sometimes a person's height goes into business for itself. The crowd is into it though, and Black now has his sights firmly set on his return match with Cody, where this storyline will come to a crossroads, and I, as the kids say, am here for it. The Lucha Brothers then remind us that they're awesome, and we here at WrestleVibes stan our new tag team Lucha Kings. Kids say that too, right? The only question remains, who is next in line for them? Whoever it is, they won't look nearly as cool as Phoenix and Penta. Then we get to the end of the love-in phase of CM Punk's return to wrestling, after another warm and fuzzy promo in which he might as well have given out puppies and kittens to the audience. Taz has heard enough and says he's sick of this cuddlier version of CM Punk. And I couldn't agree with him more here. I've loved Punk's return, but it's time to see and hear some edge from him, and this was the first step in that direction, as Punk ends the segment by telling Taz to send his boys after him and telling them, "Beat me if you can, survive if I let you." That's the thing. He said the thing, the Taz thing. Solid mic drop. Punk versus Hobbs or Starks will be great, but he'd better watch out for Hook, who might straight up murder him with that physique and those piercing eyes. This was a nice solid segment, as we're about to see CM Punk get his weekly wrestling TV legs under him in a face versus heel dynamic. Next, a brief insert in which Santana and Ortiz remind us of their victory over FTR and of their plan to climb the tag team ranks. This definitely felt like a foreshadowing of a near-future tag team title match, but where and when is the question. Personally, I'd love to see them wrestle the Lucha Brothers within the next month, maybe even at Arthur Ashe. There's a way for them to lose and still come out looking strong, and you know the match itself would be a tag title banger, so let's wait and see. We then go backstage to Tony Schiavone interviewing the new kid on the block, Ruby Soho, who is quickly interrupted by Britt and her Mean Girls posse. Britt calls Ruby the flavor of the week, and Ruby shows some bite, informing the audience that she came up in the industry with Baker and basically calls her a braggadocious fraud who hides behind names like the face of the women's division because she doesn't want people to see who she really is or isn't. Britt makes a joke about Ruby running away to catering, haha, and Ruby tells Tony that she knows Britt is his girl, something that Adam Cole will have issues with later, but Ruby is going to whip her ass. This is the most meat on the bone we've had in a Britt feud since the beginning of her title reign, and Ruby instantly feels like a player and someone you want to cheer for. Mission accomplished. I'm loving what they're doing in the early going and can't wait to see how things continue to develop. Back in the ring, we get Size versus Speed and Will Hobbs versus Dante Martin. This one has a gnarly looking throw into a ring post by Hobbs, some gravity defying leaps from Dante, and an all around interesting clash of styles. The final minute is a bit uncomfortable though, as the back of Hobbs' head clearly smacks the mat on the outside after taking a dive from Martin. This leads to a labored finish that does eventually see Hobbs hit his spinebuster for the win after a bit of an awkward follow-up pin. I hope Hobbs is okay and didn't suffer any significant damage. If my reading of this is off, I apologize. Before that moment, this was a fun contrast of styles, and it gives Hobbs a standout win before likely going after CM Punk. I'll take it. Dan Lambert and the Men of the Year then complain about the geeks in AEW and all of their annoying millennial fans. I think that's what he said anyway. We've heard this enough times now, and it's time to move on to what the actual feud coming out of this is going to be. If it does lead to Men of the Year versus Lance Archer and a pleasant surprise, Minoru Suzuki perhaps, It will have been worth it. I'm just a little tired of hearing Lambert be a stand-in for the olds who complain about them kids and how they don't pull up their bootstraps anymore, or something. Anyway, it's MJF time. He goes on about how he was cheated out of victory over Chris Jericho, then targets Brian Pillman Jr.'s family at ringside and makes some ill-advised jokes about teenage pregnancy and other crass dialogue. Pillman Jr. comes out wearing his Cincinnati colors to defend his family and his city. We also get some tension between MJF and Wardlow as MJ Gaslighter once again blames Wardlow for not helping him against Jericho and tells him to go and look pretty. There's a brawl, Griff Garrison eventually gets involved and taken out, and MJF looks to be on top. An effective segment, though I find jokes about sexual functions to be gross in wrestling, and not in a he's such a good heel way, but in a I don't want to watch this way. But that's me, and in general, I liked MJF stepping up to the line for most of this promo, the continued teases of MJF and Wardlow's eventual split, and I like Pillman Jr. being an effective white meat babyface. Pillman is just the type of mid-card act that MJF needs to go over after taking a significant pay-per-view loss. Ruby Soho and Jamie Hayter then get put into the prime 9 p.m. Eastern slot and have my favorite match of the night. Hayter is a star. The look of confused disgust as fans boo her during her entrance is effective heel work, and she really lays it in this match. Her stardom training really comes through in this one, and Ruby is no slouch either. They even turn a near-botched Poison Rana into something that looks like it hurt, before Ruby gets the victory with the same kick she used to take out Thunder Rosa in the Casino Battle Royale. The post-match sees Soho getting beat down by Britt and company before being saved by Riho and Chris Statlander. Babyfaces have friends? What is this sorcery? I loved it, and I'm looking forward to the women's trios match these 6 are going to have on Rampage. Then we get a quick promo package reminding viewers of the feud between Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. I do wonder where they go with this one, as Cage clearly needs to come out on top in this feud if they're going to continue pushing him as a babyface, but with Ricky maybe getting a CM Punk match in the near future as well, I wonder how wise that decision would be. This feud suffers from there not being enough hours in the wrestling week to make it feel significant. At least we know the eventual match should be good though. Back in the ring, we get the life and times of the Dark Order as the infighting continues and they struggle to get on the same page in the absence of Hangman Adam Page. Their opponents are FTR and Shawn Spears. This is a good story match with Uno, Grayson, and Silver not being able to find their groove. Eventually, Silver knocks Uno off the apron by accident and takes a C4 from Spears for the loss. I'm always happy to see FTR in the Pinnacle on Dynamite, but this wasn't about them. There's more infighting after the match as the Dark Order's mom and her friend come out at the end to express their frustration at their boys not getting along. I'm into this, and I wonder how they're going to resolve it. Will it involve Adam Page, or maybe some other outside influence that tries to tear them apart further? Wherever they go with it, I'll be watching on with interest. We then get a recap package of the Women's Casino Battle Royale from All Out, and it's effective. It highlights specific stories and motivations of different women and alliances, including Tay-Jay's issues with the Bunny and Penelope, Jade's issues with everyone, Nyla reminding us that she's still the most dominant force in the division, and Thunder Rosa stating that she's not going to give up. This did a lot with a little, and it made this division feel like a vibrant place where there's a lot of action going on. I'm not sure how much of it they'll be able to showcase significantly with the TV time they've got, but they're trying, and this is the most women's stories we've gotten in AEW at the same time in quite some time, and it feels like we're headed in the right direction. We then get Tully, who's angry at Sting for riding people's coattails, most recently Darby Allin's. He announces a match between Darby and Shawn Spears for next week, and teases one more match between him and Sting. Tony Schiavone reacts as a stand-in for the audience, as if his face is saying, yeah, sure. A bit of a rambly segment despite its short length, but you can't deny Tully's intensity. In the back, we get an update on Griff Garrison from Brian Pillman Jr. Pillman informs us he's gotten a match approved by Tony Khan against MJF at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Max Caster and Anthony Bowens come into the frame, and Caster informs Pillman that he's got a tune-up singles match with him on Rampage after Caster politicked to Tony Khan as well. A rudimentary connective tissue segment. That's going to be a big moment for Pillman Jr., who is being brought along as a character at just the right pace in AEW given his current standing on the card. Segment of the nighttime. The Elite get interviewed by Tony Schiavone, gloat about their greatness. Adam Cole comes in, mentions Schiavone's special relationship with Britt, and threatens to beat him up if he looks at her the wrong way. He also calls Tony a nerd and tells him to get out of the ring. This gets him booed, which is what you want after fans were so desperate to cheer him during his entrance. Anyway, Cole cuts a strong promo about AEW, about the Elite, and puts over all the key members, save for Gallows and Anderson for some reason. Storyline, maybe? I don't know. Kenny's a once-in-a-lifetime talent, blah blah blah. It's all actually really good. Kenny grabs the mic and recaps the ending of All Out, saying he doesn't like to be interrupted, only to be interrupted once again by Bryan Danielson's awesome new banger of a theme. We then get a face-off that only existed in fan fiction a few months ago. Bryan comes off great in this, making a big-time power move by grabbing the mic before Kenny can continue to run his mouth. He gets right to the point and says he wants a match against Omega. Kenny reminds him it doesn't work that way here. Bryan goads him some more by saying that Kenny is not on his level. Oh my heart. We have never seen someone in this type of confidence, with this type of confidence, step up to Kenny and tell him that they want to kick his head in. To those of you wondering what Daniel Bryan looks like outside of WWE, you got a taste of it here. The American Dragon is a fierce competitor who wants to prove that he's better than everyone. It's what drives him to improve himself. Anyway, this whole thing breaks down into a brawl after Bryan puts on the label lock on Kenny, who is furiously tapping before the Elite come back to help him, with Brandon Cutler trying to, I guess, spray Bryan off of Kenny with some cold spray. Fantastic. Jurassic Express, Christian, and Frankie Kazarian run down to the ring, and the babyfaces clean house, ending with the babyfaces surrounding a frightened Cutler, who takes a running knee from Danielson to end the segment. Just superb stuff. Not sure if we're getting a singles match immediately, or if they'll run a tag match involving Danielson, Christian, and the Jurassic Express taking on Kenny, Cole, and the Young Bucks. Both matches sound great though, and whenever we do get the eventual singles bout between Bryan and Kenny, I might just explode. So much so I can't even put words together right now. Upcoming match hype time as the following bouts are promoted. For Rampage, Andrade vs. Pac, Darby and Sting responding to Tully Blanchard, a trios match between Brit Squad taking on Ruby Squad, and Max Caster against Pillman Jr. On Dynamite next week, we'll get Adam Cole making his AEW in-ring debut against Frankie Kazarian, Jade Cargill versus Layla Hirsch, let's hope they give that one time, and Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears. Finally, out of nowhere, we get confirmation that Cody versus Malachi Black will take place at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Kind of a weird way to just throw that one out there, but they only have 2 weeks to go before that show, and maybe something happened with Cody's travel, who knows. So I guess they felt they had to confirm at least one of their big matches for it. Hopefully we hear from Cody next week. Finally, it's main event time, but there are only about 10 minutes left in the show, so Suzuki's entrance music gets cut before we can get to the crowd belting out Kaze Ninare. Disappointed. These guys exchange the types of stiff strikes you would expect, but unfortunately for those watching on TNT, a decent chunk of the match happens during commercials. The crowd is into it though, but it breaks down after Suzuki gets busted open above his right eye by a DDT. They go to the ending a minute or 3 after this, as it's obvious it's a significant problem for Suzuki, who required 7 stitches after the match. Moxley celebrates with the locals and we sign off. A bit of a rushed match in the end, though understandable given the time constraints and the injury, but it did give us enough of a sample of strong style. Let's hope they get a chance to run it back, or to at least have Suzuki show up in another significant match in AEW with the proper amount of time. Well, that was the premiere of All Elite Wrestling Season 2. We got a lot of new directions for our favorite characters, some good matches, and a lot of star power. All in all, an effective launching point for the next era of AEW. This one gets 4 potatoes out of 5, but of course, the true barometer will be watching the viewership numbers and trends in the weeks and months to come. Can AEW continue to build on the momentum they've created for themselves with All Out 2021 as they continue to try to attract new fans? Only time will tell, but as someone who watches this stuff every week, I'm pretty damn satisfied. And if this video left you feeling satisfied, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it.